What up, G Life? Now on my channel, am I no way promoting or glorifying gang activity or gang violence or none of that. My channel is to guide the misguided and to bring awareness for documented purposes. Me being a gang member, I can tell you, you get nothing out of this life, nothing at all, nothing but drama, and it's better to stay in school. And that's keeping it 100 right there. That's real talk. But with no further ado, let's get into it.
And real G's never switch up, never take the stand. A real G keeps it solid, never rolls with rats. I'm true to the code, homie, never looking back. And ain't no dirt up in my name, homie, those are facts. I keep it G, homie, I don't never have to act. Ain't nothing like the suckers on the net that's spitting gas. Boosting up their name for the fame is considered trash. You already knew on where I stand. With the homies posted in the viral daily packing strats. Boy, la vida loca, it be crazy in my habitat. Dead before dishonor is my code and ain't no turning back. Dead before dishonor is my code and ain't no turning back.
What's good, G Life? Now, right here, we're gonna be starting off in the city of Compton, California. Right here in LA County, Compton. Obviously, you know, area well recognized, you know, due to you know, NWA and other you know, great West Coast rappers, legends in the rap industry that came out of this area. You know, it's an area that has a lot of music history. Not only that, but a lot of gang history as well. You know, going for black gangs and Hispanic gangs. You know, home to the Cribs. You know, home to the Bloods. Home to, you know, a lot of Hispanic neighborhoods. Home to a lot of Hispanic Chicano rappers as well, like Compton Chapo, who comes out of this area. And as a matter of fact, this is his barrio in which we are covering right now, which is the Compton Barrio Tortilla Flats. Compton Barrio Tortilla Flats is a well-recognized, well-respected neighborhood within this area. And now, when it comes to the name, like Tortilla Flats and everything like that, there's a lot of, you know, different, you know, versions of like where the name originated from. But what I could tell you is that that this was the neighborhood. This neighborhood came before the rest of the Tortilla Flats, because there is several Tortilla Flats neighborhoods. You know, like in San Diego, you know, the Encinitas Tortilla Flats. You have another Tortilla Flats that's out of state. Then you have the ones in the harbor, and then you have the Compton Barrio Tortilla Flats. But I was told that they were the originators. You know what I mean? Their neighborhood came first because, you know, Compton Barrio Tortilla Flats is already an old school barrio, you know what I mean, with its, you know, roots heavily, you know, ingrained in this area, you know, with a lot of, you know, veteranos and a lot of riders, homie, you know what I mean? One of the neighborhoods that gives law enforcement a hard time, because right here is, you know, is gang packed, you know what I mean? Not only with Hispanic gangs, but with like Bloods, Cribs, and a little bit of everything, you know what I mean? But the Tortilla Flats neighborhood, it's between Compton and Rosecrans all the way to Alameda. So everything that's in between is their neighborhood, you know, Palmer Street, School Street, Maple Street, Spruce Street, Elm Street, Poplar Street, you know, all of that area was known, you know, all the way to Alameda. It's what's known as their barrio, you know what I mean? Which is a pretty, you know, large, extensive portion of territory, you know what I mean, to be running, you know what I mean? It ain't no joke. And like I said, they're large in numbers and they're with the business, homie. You know what I mean? And this is the barrio in which Compton Chapo is from. Go peep out his music. Homie gets down. You know what I mean? You won't regret checking out his music. Homie has a lot of talent. I reacted to some of his tracks right here already on this channel. But yeah, you know, so Compton Tortilla Flats right here has no connections to the rest of the Tortilla Flats. And what I was told is that they were the originators, so they came first, you know, being an old school barrio. And continue to represent and hold it down for theirs right here, for the Compton Tortilla Flats neighborhood right there. And now right here, we have the beautiful city of Torrance. Torrance is, you know, a middle class area, and although it may look nice, it does get treacherous right here. You know what I mean? It does be on and cracking. You know what I mean? Don't ever get it twisted. Right here, it goes down as well. And the reason why we're right here in Torrance is because this is the counterpart neighborhood, the doppelganger of Tortilla Flats. You know, this is the harbor area Tortilla Flats, and like I said, no connection to the rest of the Tortilla Flats. They just happen to have the same name and same you know, lettering. Although the other one you see is CV, you know, TF. This one you see it TF or HXA, you know, for harbor area, and then Tortilla Flats TF. Is how you see it. You know what I mean? You'll normally see them always, you know, hit up their side, you know, that way there's no confusion and stuff like that. And there's no beef between them, you know, as far as I know, you know, it's like whatever. You know, like I said, stuff like this happen. That's how much and many people there is in Los Angeles County to not being able to you know, notice this. It's really jam-packed, very populated. Like I said, you know, great minds think alike, you know, when it comes to the naming and everything like that. You know, it just happens like that, you know, it's a coincidence. You know what I mean? And their neighborhood right here in Torrance has already been around for a cool minute, but not as long as the Compton ones. You know, over here they've been around since I was told since 70s, late 60s, early 70s, in this area. And their neighborhood is from what's Normandy to Torrance Boulevard to Del Alamo Boulevard. So everything that's in the middle is their neighborhood, which is not as large, you know, as Compton, Varrios, Tortilla Flats territory, but these guys are well known in this area. You know what I mean? They do give law enforcement a hard time and go at it, you know, with these neighborhoods. You know, they are active. You know what I mean? Throughout Milton, Raymond Avenue, all of that is what's considered their neighborhood. You know what I mean? And the Tortilla Flats right here neighborhood does get it on and popping. And like I said, this is one of those cases where it's just like the same name and that's just how it goes. But that's what's up with this Tortilla Flats right here representing for theirs. And as we make our way down to the city right next to Compton, which is the city of Lynwood, you know, another area that's, you know, heavily gang infested and jam-packed full of neighborhoods, and literally the neighbor of Compton, you know what I mean? This is the city literally just right next door. People even sometimes get these area confused for Compton, but Lynwood is its own city, you know, with its own riders and all of that, you know, that claim the city of Lynwood, just like Compton Barrios put Compton Barrio, Lynwood Barrios put Lynwood Barrio, you know, so on. And we're going to be starting off with the first one, the oldest one of the two doppelganger neighborhoods, which is Lynwood Barrio Young Crowd. Lynwood Barrio Young Crowd, old school barrio already right here, well respected in out of Lynwood. One of the first neighborhood that pops into mind when we think about Lynwood, despite what, you know, their enemies are going to want to see in the comments. You know, Lynwood Young Crowd, you know, it's a well-known neighborhood, you know what I mean? They have a lot of riders, you know, they with the business. Their neighborhood is what's Atlantic all the way to Fernwood Avenue. You know, so you know, stretching out throughout all of Atlantic all the way to Elmwood Avenue. So what's in the middle is considered their neighborhood, which they do have to share territory with the Pope Street Cribs. Like I said, it's just jam-packed full of neighborhoods over here, Hispanic and black. So their neighborhood is what's Elmwood, Beechwood, Sanborn Avenue, what's Pope Avenue, and all of that area was Lugo Park Avenue, La Granada Avenue, Virginia Avenue. All of that is their neighborhood. You know what I mean? They have a pretty, you know, decent sized chunk of territory. And like I said, just like with the Compton Tortilla Flat, they have no connection to their doppelganger neighborhood. It's just one of those cases that, you know, where they just have the same name. You know what I mean? You know, it's not hard to for another group to think of the name Young Crowd. You know what I mean? It's something that would have been thought of. You know what I mean? The name is not too like out of the norm. So, you know, I can see it, why that happens. But Lynwood Barrio Young Crowd always writes, you know, the LV, you know, YC. That's how you see it up, Lynwood Barrio Young Crowd. It is the oldest out of the two, well rooted already into this community, has his riders, very notorious. they continue to represent theirs and put theirs on the map. You know what I mean? They still active and with the business and you know, continue to function right there. And now as we make our way back down to the harbor area, to where the Doppelganger neighborhood is located at, it is also located here in the harbor area. It's crazy how one was Compton and then Lynwood is right next to it, and then the rest, the Doppelgangers are in the harbor area. It's crazy that it worked out like that. But right here we have in the area of San Pedro, because they are located in San Pedro but are not affiliated with San Pedro. As a matter of fact, they beef it with San Pedro. As a matter of fact, that's the reason why their neighborhood started, how their neighborhood started. We have the Harbor Area Young Crowd. The Harbor Area Young Crowd is the smaller one of the two. Were around since the late 80s, early 90s when they were established. So, you know, they came way after the Lynwood, you know, neighborhood. That's for sure. And obviously no connection to the Lynwood one. At least that's what I was told by homies. And this neighborhood was actually started right here on 14th Street, right here in San Pedro. On 14th is where they originated at, which was a part of San Pedro's neighborhood. And San Pedro used to pick on these youths, and the youth banded together to form this neighborhood. And that's the reason why they formed the gang to begin with, to defend themselves against the bullies of the yard, you know, pues, you know, which was San Pedro. That's the reason why they had this heavy beef between both of them. And people, you know, tend to forget about this Harbor Area Young Crowd because there is a difference between the two. They're not connected, you know. Now they know of each other and stuff like that, and you know, are seem to be cool and, you know, represent together, but they're separate neighborhoods, had no ties together, nothing like that. These come from San Pedro right here on 14th Street. A lot more smaller because they haven't been around that long and stuff like that, and being the area that being you know, being patrolled by a dominant gang like San Pedro, it just makes recruitment a lot harder. But don't ever get it twisted. This young crowd still right here. They still got their members and they still do their thing, even though they're not as large. You don't see them up as much. Hey, they still handle their business right here. But this is the other young crowd neighborhood located right here in the harbor area. And now, as we make our way down, or should I say up, you know, to the northeast LA portion, Nellis, to the El Sereno neighborhood, because this is where we have the next set of doppelgangers. This one being a little bit more different, and the reason for that is because this neighborhood, as far as I know, they were green lighted and maintained the green light as of now still. I'm not gonna go into the details of the reasons for all of that and all that. You know, they made the channel, they made the news, obviously, you know what I mean, due to the fact of the green light and all of that. Is the Lowell Street. Lowell Street is located right here in El Sereno on Lowell Street. Roughly was always a small neighborhood, you know, that was pretty active during the late 80s, early 90s. But after the green light, you know, their numbers dumbed down. You don't see them up as much, you know, due to the fact of, you know, it's on site with everybody, and it just makes it very difficult. You know, Maravilla's case was different because they were more larger in numbers and had a massive amount of territory, you know, for recruitment and all of that. You know what I mean? But this neighborhood, you know, being in the neighborhood of such a more larger neighborhood like El Sereno, because they beef it with them heavily, you know. There's heavily beef between both of those neighborhoods. It just makes recruitment a lot harder, you know, due to the fact that they don't really have that much territory, you know, to work with. So I was told that there were roughly only like about 60 heads. So, you know, and then having, you know, beefing it with everybody just makes it very difficult. But Lowell Street, you know, continues to have its, you know, riders that represent them. You know, so they have no affiliation to the Sud or nothing like that. They just their own, you know, specific, you know, gang. And like I said, they have no affiliation to the other Lowell Street. It's just one of those cases where they just happen to have the same name. And what a coincidence that both areas, you know, have the same street as the name, because that's what they're named after, the street. It's just a trip that it worked out that way. But this is the Lowell Street right here in Nellis, in the northeast LA portion, and representing for theirs. And now, as we make our way down to Orange County, Naranja, you know, Orange County being, you know, another area in California that's treacherous and gang infested. definitely has their riders. You know, don't ever get it twisted. You know, when people speak about Orange County, homie, it's on and popping right here. These guys will, you know, stretch you out. And the reason why we're in this area is because this is home to the doppelganger of the other Lowell Street, which is the Lowell Street locals as well. Same, written the same meaning, same everything. You know what I mean? It's a trip like that. Often do the neighborhoods get confused, and it's a little bit more tricky because how the other Lowell Street has the green light, you could see where like confusion and all of that could happen. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting scenario, you know, to say the least. You know, due to the fact that their other counterpart happens to have the green light. The reason you could distinguish this neighborhood separate from the other ones is because how neighborhoods in Orange County have like a clica that specifically you know to that neighborhood. It's more like a mascot name, I guess you could say. They're known as the Sinners. So the Sinners is how you read it, you know, the Sinners, the Lowell Street, the Sinners, pues, is how you could tell them apart, you know, from the other Lowell. That's what they're known, you know, as. And this neighborhood, unlike the one in Nellis, this neighborhood is more larger, has more extensive chunk of territory, and is currently an really active neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like the other one is like you don't really see them up or around and stuff like that. But this one you definitely see still functioning and active. And these homies are obviously, you know, Sereno, so they roll with the Sur. They are homeboys. You know, so, you know, there is that difference. And these guys continue to represent theirs. You know, these guys ain't no suckers, ain't no chumps. They put theirs on the map and hold it down for the Lowell Street locals, Los Sinners, and still representing right there in Orange County.